Thanks for tuning in. There's something common amongst others who live on the road. And no, it's not having smoothies every day, but having a fur companion. If you are contemplating having that ultimate best fur friend join you on the road, then there are many things to consider. So we will share what we have learned during our time traveling. The first thing to chew over is to make sure your dog is comfortable being in a vehicle for an extended period of time.
How you doing?
Are you okay?
How you doing?
Are you okay?
Since your vehicle is your home, you tend to spend a lot of time in it, way more than you think. So that means Fido will also have to be in it too. Some dogs can become anxious in a moving vehicle, and when traveling long distances, that means there is significantly more time rolling down the road. Another factor to consider is the road conditions, since not every road will be a smooth one. We have unfortunately learned through trial and error to secure all our items before taking off, and Kain has now learned to stand up front when we start driving, from trauma. Before living in the van, we took Kain on mini trips, which was good, since we learned he got pretty anxious from traveling long distances and to different elevations. Since doing this, he now feels more calm on the long haul days. Not only will your puppers be spending time with you while you drive, but they may have to spend a significant amount of time alone in the vehicle. Since we like to mountain bike and there's no way Kain could keep up on a 20-mile day, he gets to spend time protecting our home. But this comes with a lot of planning. First, we have to think about the temperature of the day and strategically park our home so it stays cool. Then we have to set up our reflectix, crack our windows, crank up our fan to a high setting, make the most luxurious bed, and fill up his water bowl. We do get reassurance when we use our temp stick because it tells us the temp reading in 15 to an hour increment, but this also only works when we have service. He has always been great since he feels like the van is home, but as owners, it puts another worry in the back of your mind. The worry sometimes is not always temperature, but sometimes it's with having other people around, which causes two concerns. One, someone breaking in and stealing your most prized possession, or others feeling concerned for your dog in a vehicle even though they are chillin' like a villain. You may be thinking, well, I won't do those things to leave my fur buddy in the car. That may be easier said than done. They will most likely always have to stay in the car when you have an errand day, unless you find a cool enough grocery store to let them in, and if you do, let us know. If you are planning your trips around national parks, then I would plan just to see the visitor center, since most parks only allow dogs on paved paths, unless you go to one of the very few dog-friendly parks. Long story short, you and your pup will have to learn to be apart for an X amount of time if living this lifestyle. We learned fast that routine is key. Kain had a well-established routine in our old home, and we had completely thrown him off his normalcies when cramming him in our van. We did learn that an old dog can learn new tricks, but the owners have to recognize the signals first. Kain had to reteach us how he tells us when he has to go to the bathroom.
What do you want?
It took us a few times to grasp at his needs, since at our old home he would stand by our patio door, and in the van, well, everywhere he stands is by the door. Speaking of potty breaks, the only option to go to the bathroom is outside, and that means even when the weather is having a tantrum.
Kain, are you excited to go potty in 65-mile-per-hour wind? No, I wouldn't be either.
Okay, braving the storm. Let's pee him. pee. Whoa! Go pee.
Oh my god. Another issue we didn't see coming is to get in the habit of filling his water dish and making sure it's available when possible, since we don't have water available at all times when we drive, especially down the bumpy roads. We also learned that when in the desert, water is important, and when you think you drink enough, you need to drink more, and this goes the same for Kain. Speaking of water, you will also have to carry extra, since you will lose a lot to a slobber fest. Did someone mention slobber? Depending on the type of companion you love, this is something that can engulf your tiny space. Maybe they don't have mounds of drool pouring from their mug, but they most likely will go outside, which means the outside will come in with them. So you will have to go to your Zen space when you have to wipe the same spot for the millionth time. And your Zen place might have to be in close proximity to the cause, since space is limited in a tin can. So that is another thing you have to consider. We had to do a lot of thinking of how to make Kain feel comfortable when we are all in the van at the same time, since his bedroom is the kitchen and living room. You will have to plan around the amount of storage he will need to take up with all his toys, food, and other care items that he needs to have come along. Remember when we said routine is key? Kain usually has a routine of laying outside whenever the days are nice, but that also means he will most likely lay in the dirt, which over time adds up, so you will have to get creative on how to clean him off. This can be finding a public shower, solar shower, or even wet wipes. We also have found having your fur friend outside isn't always the safest place, especially in an unfamiliar area. We learned quickly that everything in the desert has its own survival mechanisms. Instead of leaves, everything has spikes.
This is what happens when you pee next to a cactus.
Ants are out to inflict pain.
Sorry, baby, you got bit by an ant.
And, well, the soil can have harmful toxins. But every area in the US has some sort of thing to keep under your caution radar. So, moral of the story is to be cautious of your surroundings. If things do go awry out in the wild, it may be good to keep the vet in mind, and knowing where the nearest vet is, since it may be over an hour away, or have a vet hotline number handy. The outside is a temperamental place, especially with temperature, so it's important to know your dog's limits. Our lucky boy is very sensitive to temperature, and pretty much only thrives between 55 and 60 degree weather with overcast. We have had some rough sleeping nights when our heater fell short, and we've also had days trying to create as much shade as possible. So it's always good to know your dog's limits with the elements. Last thing to keep in mind when bringing your pooch on the road is their temperament. Living in a van opens your world to being social, and that snowballs into meeting new people and dogs. People have social limits, and dogs also do too. So knowing their comfortability around others and their pets is something to be aware of. And it's also important to communicate their needs with others you encounter. Another thing to note about their behavior is if they are enticed by things in their element, which can cause them to lose track of their boundaries. So sometimes having them on leash or using a light up collar at night is warranted. This was probably a lot of information, but we wanted to inform you of the lessons we have learned from living with Kain on the road, and some of these lessons were unexpected. But our best times in the van are with Kain, and this adventure wouldn't be fulfilled without him. If you are considering traveling with your pooch, you are now informed of some of the things that come along with it, and we 100% recommend having the best travel partner along. Thanks for tuning in, and we can't wait to help you next time.
Yeah, you like your little crotch squeezes.